For a few showers, nothing to really break the heat. It truly is all about the warm temperatures, the high dew points, and the uncomfortable air that we have here, especially for the millions without power. So here's a look at that forecast. Right now, we are starting with temperatures that feel like you're at 80 or worse. So it feels like 90 right now in Miami. And that's before the sun has come up, right? So that's our starting point for today. And if you don't have power, you've had no relief all night from the heat. Temperatures just haven't cooled off. Now, temperatures throughout the rest of the southeast are much cooler. It's really Florida where we're kind of stuck in this humid and warm air mass. Nashville 64, Atlanta 67, Raleigh 68. Much drier air has worked in there. But elsewhere, we're going to keep the humidity around. You see how the winds are still either from the east or the south across most of Florida. And even in the Panhandle, you're starting to get a return to more typical, September Florida weather. In Jacksonville today, 88 degrees, the expected high temperature. The feels like 94. The feels like is the important number to know for all of these spots. Tampa at 99 is the feels like. 101 in Miami. So no relief at all. This is just sort of a relentless, nonstop warm air mass. And if you don't have power overnight, you don't cool down. During the day, it's going to be hot, and that is a big part of the problem here. All right, looking at the forecast today, there is some scattered showers. There's more green on the map than there's going to be on the radar. But by this afternoon, there's going to be some other scattered pop-up showers and storms. And by evening and after sunset, those will calm down. How much rainfall? For the most part, it's up to an inch. A few areas could get 1 to 2 inches of rain in some of the heavier and more persistent downpours. Now, for today, through the rest of the southeast up into South Carolina and Georgia, there will be some showers across South Georgia, a couple of showers in eastern North Carolina and maybe around the Myrtle Beach area. But the rest of the southeast will be drying out, and actually the sun making more of an appearance today. The remnants of Irma are making trouble for people in the Northeast.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kelly. All eyes are still on the tropics here as we do have a hurricane just to the northeast of the Bahamas right now. This is causing some problems with some big swells here across places in the Caribbean, but we're going to watch this one closely because it may bring us some U.S. impacts in the near future. Again, still watching those models very closely because that's looking ahead to next week, but this is a Category 1 hurricane right now that we are facing here in the Atlantic. If we take a broad look at the tropics, you can see things are really just lit up here, but there's Hurricane Jose battling a lot of issues right now. Significant amount of shear that's being interacted with that storm. We're having that upper level features that are coming in and really tear it apart. And it's those steering patterns that are going to bring Jose on a westward track here off towards the U.S. Now, just depending on how strong these features get really means the difference here of how far west the Jose can slide. But it may, in fact, block it so that we might not have any impacts at all. And then Jose will just steer itself off into the Atlantic, which would certainly be some good news. But again, in the meantime, we have some issues here with some big swells because we've got onshore wind right now coming into places like the northern coast of Hispaniola as well as Cuba. And this may cause us some issues not only in places like the southeast, where in Florida we could have things like life-threatening rip currents again and those big waves, but places like the Outer Banks of North Carolina may be getting some impacts as well heading into the early part of next week. So please be on the lookout for that. I know some of you want to get those last weekends in on the beach, but you got to watch out for these big waves because, again, they may cause us some problems. Here's a look at the forecast for that system right now. Notice that that center is basically steering off to the northeast. It's keeping the biggest waves off the coast, but heading into Thursday, so this is about a week from now, places on the coast like Cape Cod of Massachusetts, even Rhode Island, may be seeing some bigger waves. All right, let's head to Jen now with more on the tropics.
And let's talk about Jose. And you know what? I think if it wasn't for Harvey and Irma, people might not be thinking about Jose because it's been out in the Atlantic, but it's been sitting there for a long time, and it's making that loop-de-loop that is very interesting. Have any other storms done that? Yes. We're going to take a look back at history, bring out our tropical replay, and we'll show you what Ginger did. Now, Ginger was a different type of hurricane. It formed in a completely different area, but it's interesting when you look at Jose versus Ginger and just the longevity of these things. All right, so we take you back to 1971 in Category 2 Hurricane Ginger. It formed actually not too far from the Bahamas, and it formed in a completely different way, which tells you in September, right, pretty much the entire Atlantic basin is open for business. Now, Ginger also did a sort of odd track, a loop-de-loop, came back around and then threatened the U.S. and actually made landfall in North Carolina. At that point, it was becoming extratropical, and it brought big rain to eastern North Carolina, places like Beaufort, you guys, Atlanta, Atlantic Beach, you saw inches of rain, if not over a foot of rain for some of you there in the eastern Atlantic coast. Now, this was 1971, and this was Ginger, a different beast, but it lasted as a hurricane for 20 days. And that's the other thing about Jose, that it has a lot of longevity so far in its history, and there's more to come too. Let's talk about actually how much longer we could be dealing with. And as we take a look at some of the steering currents associated with Jose, and Dr. Navarro just talked about this big high pressure out here, and then as that sort of weakens and pulls to the east, and this new one moving in, these two and how they steer Jose are going to make all the difference. You know, we've been now talking about Jose since September the 5th. And we could still, in fact, we're likely to talk about it for at least another week. Just to give you perspective, Ginger, when in 1971 went on into October. I don't think we'll have to be dealing with this until October, but as we take a look at the steering currents, regardless of which high pressure takes over, it will matter as to whether there's an impact here in the northeastern mid-Atlantic or if it goes out to sea. Of course, as Dr. Navarro talked about, the swell up along the coastline will always be an issue regardless of where it goes. Today, we've got a big picture for you with your forecast. We are still watching very closely the weather in Florida because as folks recover from Irma, we've got a lot of issues with heat and humidity for people without power, plus thunderstorms are in the forecast today. Also, we've got these dueling fronts that are coming in, and out ahead of this big one, we've got to look at summer, and behind it, we've got to look at fall, maybe a little taste of winter as well. Also keeping an eye on the tropics, watching Jose, keeping an eye on this. Will it impact Florida? No. Will it impact the U.S. East Coast, though? There's possibilities of that, and we're breaking down all of the options. Welcome back, everyone, to AMHQ. It is about 30 minutes past the hour. That was your big picture. We've got everything covered for you today. Kelly Cass, Dr. Erika Navarro, and I have holding down the fort today as we still look at showers and heat in Florida. I mean, we just can't catch a break.
And what's left of Irma raining on parts of the Northeast for today as well. So welcome back, everyone. As you talked about, we've got a couple seasons going on the map. What does it feel like where you are? Below average temperatures across the west, while on the eastern side, we do have the heat and the humidity, unfortunately.
View. We still have some showers here persisting across places like Florida, and a cold front pushing across the west here. That's going to be bringing some winter weather to the heights of the northern Rockies. That's going to be making its way off to the east. So we've got severe weather coming into play for the weekend. Heat is going to be building off in the west, but things are going to clear out before another trough comes in for places like Seattle. Some showery weather as well for places on the east, but looks like it'll be a fairly